After a couple of weeks off, the kid resumed her kindergarten classes last week. But over the weekend, we got an advisory from the school that they'll be having a wellness break for the week. I fear that it's because, teachers, parents, students are falling victim to the recent surge of coronavirus cases. It's easy to get miffed by the news. It was already quite the task getting the kid to be interested in school again after their holiday break. And we all know how tough vacation inertia is to overcome. Then comes another break that screws with our collective, back to school, back to work momentum. Makes you wonder if kids will ever get to learn what's conventionally expected of them, considering the shift to online learning and all of these adjustments and interruptions that are happening along the way. But then again, you feel for everyone who's trying to deal with getting sick. I mean, schooling during the pandemic is already pretty tough as it is. Now, compound that with COVID, then that's something that's, I can only imagine how tough that would be. My social network's filled with various education stakeholders, and you can just see the pressure from all sides. I have friends who are teachers, and they all complain about being overloaded and pressured. There are parents who can't balance teaching their kids, work, and running the household. You have administrators who are trying to comply with rigid policies and yet trying to apply some flexibility with managing their schools at the same time. And students were just, plainly demotivated by the circumstances. Everyone just seems to be burnt out. My kid's only in kindergarten, but we already have observations slash complaints about how online learning is being handled. It seems that it's even making helicopters out of us parents since it seems that we're the most stressed out about it. Well, to be fair, my kid's school is supposed to be among the ones doing an okay job with the shift to online learning. Our experience in junior nursery last year was quite positive, but our kid was suddenly bumped to kinder. No thanks to this, age cut off, and we don't know if we're just ready for that yet. Halfway through kinder, and we're wondering if it was a good decision letting her jump to kinder. Unlike junior nursery, where it doesn't exactly count in the country's K to 12 program, kinder does. So what's happening now is actually a big deal, academically. Now, the kids' class meets every day as a group for an online synchronous session where the teacher to student ratio is 1 to 5. That's actually pretty good and pretty low. It's supposed to give the kids more time to interact with each other, even online. And twice a week, they have tasks and homework to do. And that's alternated with one-on-one sessions with the teacher where they get to do individualized tasks. They also have, they're also assigned, week-long projects to do on a weekly basis. Fortunately, all the materials are provided by the school through learning packs, which already include the printed modules, the worksheets, and school supplies. So at least, there's the convenience factor that we don't have to worry about, sourcing modeling clay or Oslo paper. Now, all of this, looks nice. That is in theory or on paper. What this doesn't seem to account for are the various challenges that we have to navigate around, particularly as parents. To start, there's the problem of having the learner switch contexts. Unlike in face-to-face learning, students enter a different environment, that is the school and the classroom, so that they can learn. With online learning, they're just at home. Yeah, you can't just, jolt the kid into going into school mode, okay, since just a few steps from their study area would be their usual comfort zones, the living room, the dining room, the kitchen, their bedroom. And that is if you could actually allocate a dedicated space for your kid. Besides, having this dedicated space or room inside the house solely for schooling is a luxury not everyone can afford. The kindergarten program of the school also requires a parent or guardian to be the kid's companion. Okay. companion is actually quite a loaded term since you can just, be there. The role is essentially that of a teaching assistant. Considering that our kids aren't independent learners yet, part of the preparation, facilitation, and follow-up actually depends on us. And that's something that I don't think most parents are prepared to do. I already raised this concern with the teacher, the level coordinator, and the principal. So as you see, we're actually turning into helicopter parents. Unfortunately, when we got to talk to the principal, the principal just seems to be triggered by my comments, saying that they, in fact, have an orientation program for parents about the program and how to be a companion. I mean, I've been in that orientation, and in that program, they simply told us to prepare the materials beforehand, provide technical support for Zoom and the internet, take pictures of your kids' work for submission. Well, those things are, those pointers are nice, but they aren't exactly going to help us when we encounter situations like when the kids get tantrums because they got dropped from the call due to shitty internet, or when the synchronous session is too fast for them, or when they get overwhelmed by all of those tasks and projects that weren't carefully thought of by the school or by the teachers. Well, it seemed that the principal didn't exactly entertain my point. And my point is, if we're being asked to be an active participant in our child's education within the context of the school's program or curriculum, then it's only incumbent upon them to equip us with, the knowledge and a level of support and guidance needed to execute their program properly. I suggested that it would be great if we could have, we receive parents' guides that are structured like the teacher's own lesson or learning plans. At least it would give us, pointers on what the objectives of the lesson are, how to facilitate the activities, or at least manage the transitions, these kinds of things. At least it would help us, situate our kid on what the point of the lesson would be. It would at least make us, an effective assistant to the teacher. Or in the very least, we asked the school if we could have, periodic webinars for the parents and guardians on the best practices on being this, ideal companion in the context of their program. Fortunately, they haven't gotten back to us about this. I felt that, maybe we're just being dismissed as, the typical helicopter parents who are just, trying to spoil their kid or whatever. Sadly, we're all trying to wing it, because essentially we're just all winging it right now. I have a kid who's now demotivated and bored. Right now, we're also in the process of finding, a big school for her for grade 1, because her current school only teaches until kinder. And it's putting a lot more pressure on us, especially when we read the required academic competencies for grade 1. And we somehow feel that the kid is still lacking some of those. And kinder is supposed to be their preparation for that. I don't know if kinder is, achieving that purpose. Or should it achieve that purpose considering what's happening right now? I do understand that education during the pandemic is a frontier for all of us. Most of us are just still trying to figure things out and see what sticks. But isn't it actually a very dangerous game that we're playing? Considering how poorly educated and even miseducated our population is, will we even survive another lost generation if this is shaping up to be a lost generation due to the pandemic? I also know that I'm speaking from a position of privilege. Our middle class experience is surely vastly different from the experience of the ordinary Filipino. Like in the news, you had that father who bartered chickens to be able to buy a tablet for his kids. Our experience is vastly different from that, and I could only imagine what the less fortunate of our countrymen are doing to cope with this thing. This is why it's so hard for me to fathom why there's very little talk of comprehensively addressing this, education dilemma on the level of policy, okay, in our country. It seems that policy makers they seem to be quite high on rushing getting face-to-face classes back on track. It's funny when you see that they seem to be still implementing so-called precautions like installing plastic cover barriers as if those weren't already proven to be ineffective to stop COVID. But we should have decisive policies on how to actually address this thing. Doesn't surprise me though, considering how callous this administration has been. I sure hope that there'd be a lot more collaboration and dialogue across all education stakeholders, and hopefully that we could formulate or in the process of that dialogue that we could consider all the angles and have parity in mind, because as the way things are going, it's not exactly helping everybody, and some kids will get left behind.